On episode 224 of the Tennis Files podcast, you'll learn how to improve your returns and develop winning strategies with Karue Sell. Hey there, this is Mehrban, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast. And this is going to be part 2 of my interview with Karue Sell. If you'll recall, on episode 223, we talked about how to simplify your serve and develop a winning mindset. So definitely check out episode 223 if you have not yet. But on this part of the episode, or part of the interview, we're going to pivot to talk about how to improve your returns and develop your own unique winning strategies commensurate with your abilities. And we're also going to talk about Karue's experience being a practice partner for Naomi Osaka, how he ended up with that position, and how Naomi really is like, because obviously Karue has had a lot of experiences with Naomi and, practicing and conversing and so forth. So he is in a very good position to let us know exactly how Naomi is. And in addition, we're going to talk about Karue's favorite books and how he developed his MyTennisHQ YouTube channel, which you all should definitely check out. And so we will have links to his channel and books and other links on the show notes page for you to check out. But before I present the interview, I would like to give you my pun of the day, and here it goes. The Queen of England's son used to play a lot of tennis. His favorite racket brand was, of course, Prince. Yes, I know that's a very corny pun, but you know what? I hope you got a wry chuckle out of it somehow. Alrighty then. With that, let's turn it over to my interview with Karue. And, if you'll recall as well, because I always do bios in the intro, Karue was ranked as high as 371 in the world and has notched over 100 wins at UCLA during his time there. And he's rated as a 15.01 UTR. So that's really, really high. And he's won several futures tournaments. So there you go with the bio. And with that, I will turn it over to my interview with Karue Sell. Enjoy. Awesome, man. Yeah, appreciate that. So, as we mentioned, you got to the 300s. So you obviously, played and did really well in futures. You said you played in challenges as well. So I was curious about the range of tournaments that you played. Was it futures and challengers? Did you play any other tournaments as well?
I played futures and challengers mostly. I got in one ATP qualies. I got into Winston-Salem qualies.
Nice.
So I played that. I was actually up a set and a break against a guy who was I think top 100 at the time, and kind of choked that one out.
Don't use that word. No.
Yeah, exactly. But played mostly futures and challengers. I was kind of in that weird 300-400 at the time. The challengers were 32 draws, so it was a bit more difficult to get into the challengers. So I wouldn't say I didn't do that well in challengers. I also didn't play that many. I needed to be in that level for a little bit longer, I think. I had in late 2018, I had a little injury on my hand that kind of sidelined me for 3 months, and then I couldn't defend pretty much two of my Claremont future and SC future that I had once. So when I came back, I was around I was in the 500-600 or something, which was totally fine. Again, I had plenty of confidence that I could go through the futures fairly quickly. I within 2-3 tournaments I had made a final already, so I was okay with that. But it was at that year that they tried that stupid transition tour.
Oh yeah,
thing that they changed the rankings and futures weren't counting for ATP, and all of a sudden you're at I was 500, but I pretty much had to restart. I had to start playing 15Ks again, and I was this is so idiotic. What is going on?
Yeah.
So that kind of pushed me a little bit over the edge there, that I wasn't enjoying it. And really mentally, I was well, why am I doing this? So that was a little tough there, especially coming back from an injury and feeling now I'm playing tournaments that don't matter pretty much. So So yeah, it was just tricky situation. But I played a lot of events. I'd say challengers, like the level is already super high. Like
Yeah,
most challenger players would be competent players, like playing top 100 tennis. Like they can all
sure.
like win. It's just the challenger tour is really difficult to break through. But it was I got to experience a lot of it, and I think even if it was a short time on tour, I had a great time.
Awesome, man. And yeah, can you explain that? You mentioned the transition tour thing. Like, so you said like, was it some of the futures didn't count? Like or how did that
So
work? Actually?
15Ks didn't count
Okay.
ATP points anymore, and then 25Ks they would give like 1 point for the finalists and like 3 points for the
The winner.
winner. But
That's it.
the futures, yeah, but the futures would count points for this new ITF
uh,
ranking. So the top, so challengers, for you to play challengers, there would be spots for like the top ITF like ranking, whatever, transition tour ranked guys. So all of a sudden there was like a lot of guys who played like a bunch of 15Ks the year before, and they had all these transition tour points technically, and they could get in the spots in the challengers, because then the challengers had like 4 transition tour spots or something.
I see.
But all of a sudden, like only like 10 guys would get in this challengers, instead of like I could, before I could go compete in a challenger qualities at 700 in the world and qualify, where they took away the qualities of challengers. So all of a sudden the path, which was already terrible, like it was already like difficult, it was like almost ridiculous that you had to win like 8 futures in a year to make some challenges. I'm like, that is so crazy. It
God.
was so crazy. Obviously, they figured out, they messed everything up, and within 6 months they changed everything. So back. So it was just like a stupid thing and a waste of everyone's time. So now they were trying to make it so it's like, oh, there's gonna be less people in the ATP rankings, so we can take care of them better and blah blah blah. I'm like, that is BS. Like you're not going to.
Yeah.
Like you're still playing like for $150 in a challenger. So no, it was like a silly thing they did.
Yeah, that's definitely unfortunate. So your transition, from the tour, I guess you play. So how many years was that you played? Like 3-ish, 4?
No, I played. It was like 2017 to like 2019.
Okay, got it, gotcha,
Yeah,
man.
so a couple of years.
Gotcha. And then how is that transition then? It's interesting, I'm sure, for any, well, I guess most of our audience is probably like 3.5 to 5.0 players, but, like for those who transition away from the tour, like yours, a lot of them, I'm sure, are like, oh, what the heck do I do now? So what was that for, like, for you? Like,
It was, yeah. I mean, it was a little bit difficult. I think you try to figure it out. Like, okay, now I don't have to like train as hard, or like tennis becomes actually kind of enjoyable because you don't feel like you necessarily
mm,
have this like pressure of like just be getting better all the time. So like when I was on
right.
court, just playing and having a good time was actually kind of nice. Um, I mean, I think it's just, I mean, you start doing other things, and I started coaching a little bit, and kind of filling out your day with other stuff, and all of a sudden like it just priorities just shift. I think for me, again, it wasn't, if I had the financially for a little bit longer, even if I was just breaking even, I probably would have still be playing. I think I would have I would have enjoyed like to be playing still, um but not at the cost of like putting myself through a bunch of debt, or like just not feeling like I could afford you know my bills or something like that. I think that's a stupid thing for someone who, you know, anyone who's pretty much in the ATP rankings is at the top, 99.9 percentile of the sport. And,
Right.
a lot of us can't afford, our bills, our coach or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
so
it's
that
crazy.
part of it is just something that I couldn't enjoy, and I just had to step away from, and kind of do my own thing, which eventually, obviously, MyTennisHQ came into play, and
Yeah.
and it became like my my project that I could feel like I'm building something, and kind of have that drive again.
Yeah, so like what inspired my tennis HQ? Like what how did you come with that idea? Cuz most, coaches, like they're just coaching, at a club or something like that, but you actually took the step of going online and putting out some great content. So how did that start for you?
Yeah, it was actually the idea was my partner's Guy, who he was a Pepperdine player, good player,
Cool.
and he had done a lot of research on his spare time on building using SEO stuff and Google AdSense
Mm-hmm.
to create websites and organic traffic and things like that. So we actually started just as a website, not a YouTube channel. Writing response articles and just kind of at first you're writing pretty much to nothing, to nobody. But yeah, we just started a website, started doing all this, like writing all these articles, response articles, stuff like that for what people, we look at SEO, what people are searching and stuff. And it started off like that, and then I had kind of like I always enjoyed like photography, videography was something that I enjoyed. And
Cool.
my friend was like, look, I think obviously a YouTube channel would be, with my experience and, me being on the court a lot more than you was, it would have, we thought like, I think that's something that might take off, and, I can coach and make these videos and make this like little project. So we started the YouTube channel as well, kind of a few months after the website, and eventually like I just took over YouTube. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
we kind of made it where I was just gonna do the YouTube part of it, and kind of not knowing exactly how to grow it, and it just making videos and hoping it would stick, and it worked out. I think people appreciated like a lot of the content I was putting out, and we started with a lot of racket reviews and things like that because that was a little bit easier for people to find us. But then eventually, I wanted my passion is like teaching it, so I wanted to make the channel more focused on instructional stuff, and it just worked out, man. We I think had like 300 subscribers in like May of like 2020, and now we're like close to
That's
breaking
amazing.
40,000. So it just worked out like really well that way. And Guy and I, we complement each other really well in our skills. So he does a lot of the back end stuff, and I'm just kind of doing like most of the YouTube stuff. So it's been a really fun project.
Yeah, definitely been enjoying your content. Some, like I said, great footage with other great players, and you've got like serve return tips and tactics, simple strategies, all these things. But it's funny. I think the very first video that I saw was of you hitting with Naomi Osaka, and so
Yeah.
you practice with her so much. So can you tell us about how that relationship stemmed, and then like how frequent you're hitting, and just any other interesting details about that?
Yeah, I 2019, I was just, in LA, doing my thing, and I got a few people call me. Like I remember this one week, a few people call me about like, what are you doing? Would you be interested in be a hitting partner? Or they wouldn't tell me who it was. They were just like, oh, there's like a big female stars moving to LA, and they're gonna look for someone like to hit with and be kind of like a fixed hitting partner. And I was like, I'm not tied to anything. Just have them reach out, and we'll see. But they won't tell me any details, and I didn't hear from anyone from her camp for months.
Mm.
I think they were still playing like the Asian tour and
Ah.
and um, WTA finals, all that. And then like later that 2019, I think it was like November or something. I got a text from her agent. We met up, and it was like, oh, let's do a little tryout. We were trained at UCLA, and the coach was also new. Wim had just came in
Mm.
as well, and we all started like in December of 2019, just training in at UCLA, doing our thing. And then all of a sudden, I was going to Australia. Like they were like, yeah, you ready to go? I was like, yeah, let's do it. So we ended up going to
Sweet.
Australia. Obviously wasn't the best Australia at the time. We came back, we started training again here, and obviously COVID hit, so that was weird, but it was a
Yeah.
weird year. But yeah, I'm the guy who does a lot of the LA training. I didn't do a lot of some of the traveling outside the US because I'm actually in the process of getting my green card. So I can't really leave and
Right.
come back. So I have to wait for that. So, but the LA part of it, I've done, we do 8 week because during the pandemic, there was not a lot for us to play. So we trained a lot. So to do like, 8 weeks straight, and then before Australia, we also had like a really big training block. I remember like before this past Australia, she won. I was like, she's winning that tournament like 100%. Like, I obviously didn't bet on it. But if I had to, I would have put money on her because I was like, she's playing lights out. So yeah, it's been a really, really fun journey. Obviously, we won the US Open. I was there when she won the US Open last year. And yeah, she just, it's been awesome. I think like, I learned a lot. I learned, women, I have a great relationship. So I think most of the reason why I do it is not necessarily, I don't really care about, hitting with a superstar, or it's not like I'm not chasing any clout for who I work with Naomi. I actually am
Right.
there because I want to learn, from a coach like Wim and from a player like her that, has to deal with so much pressure to win
Yeah.
matches and stuff like that. So it's just an environment that a good learning environment for me. And it's been a great journey, and plus I enjoy it. I don't particularly enjoy the traveling as much, but the work here in LA, I find it to be really fun, to go out and train and be out there and helping. So it's been a really fun like couple of years. Obviously ups and downs, but can't complain. Won a couple of Grand Slams, and she's in a good spot.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's great to hear. You're such a great teammate, helping her out, and your teammates at UCLA. So curious, she's obviously like a big superstar. So the audience would probably be interested in like interactions and such. But how's her demeanor generally, and like on the practice court? Any other insights?
I think a lot of people just ask me about her, like, oh, is she like like th- like that, like how we see it on TV? You know what I mean? Like, I get a lot of those questions. Like, a lot of people maybe
Mm,
may think it's a little bit of an act. She's 100% like her, and I think that's something that people like have a hard time like realizing. Like, she um is incredibly nice, like, almost
awesome.
like too nice. Like when we were hitting, like says sorry all the time. She misses a ball. I'm like, what are you, like, stop apologizing, you know what I mean? Like, you're fine. And she's really thoughtful in a lot of ways.
Cool.
She's always like, he remembers everyone's birthday and gets them gifts, and like, she's just
Ah,
got really, like, she's a really sweet person. Yeah, she's really, really
so
sweet.
cool.
She's just, I think a lot of people, I think that there's an expectation of, I know, if you're a superstar, you sort of have to act a certain way, right? Because you just, you have sponsorships, you have, a billion fans, and she's just a very introverted person.
Hmm.
And that's whenever people talk about her and the mental health stuff like that, I was like, people like, she's just introverted. Like, her personality doesn't really match what she does, right? Like,
Right. Right.
yeah. I think if she could, she probably would just be the best in the world, but like be unbothered. Um,
Yeah.
but it comes with responsibility, and she's still figuring out how to navigate that. And it's been it, she became a superstar really quickly, and a lot of the off-court stuff that she has to do, it's draining. It's draining for an introverted person. Like,
Yeah.
human interaction for introverted people is draining. So people just need to understand that, like, so you know they're not robots. These athletes are not robots. Yes, a guy like Federer, Djokovic, or Nadal, they've been able to like handle things a little bit better. Serena as well, they're a little bit tougher skin. But we can't just expect that everyone is going to behave the same way. And I think like she's again, she's incredibly kind. I remember like we'd be at Australia. I remember in Australia, like we warmed up, and her warm ups for matches, like the hitting warm up, at least it's short. Like she doesn't like hitting a lot before matches. Um, but she would spend like almost double the time just like signing autographs and taking
Mm.
pictures afterwards because it really matters to her. It matters that like she's making an impact on kids, on people. So I think she's almost like sometimes in over her head a little bit. Like she wants to do so much and help so many people that sometimes it's she has to learn to be selfish a little bit sometimes. Like, hey, I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to do maybe this shoot, or I'm not going to do this interview or whatever, and I'm just going to take my time. So I think she's still figuring that out, but she is incredibly nice. She's incredibly kind, and I think like people that they've been kind of like mean about her recent issues, like they just don't really get it, which is understandable, but they're not there on a day-to-day to understand it.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of like mean jerks, keyboard warriors. Honestly,
Yeah,
it's like ridiculous.
yeah.
But yeah, that's really neat, really cool to hear. I feel like you should also be her spokesman. I think that was a really good explanation, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I, in a weird way, like I'm like I sympathize, like I can even get a little protective about it because I'm just like
Sure.
she's just like a
Yeah.
sweet person that you guys are not around, and I'm
Right.
a fairly introverted person too, and I understand that like interactions can be draining, and sometimes you just need to be left alone, and I hope she can find sort of like a better balance of that. It's like I need to just do my thing. Maybe I won't do as many shoots or I won't do as many things. But she's also passionate about a lot of the things that she's doing off court. So just kind of finding like a better balance. I think she's still like young and hasn't figured that
Yeah.
out as much. Also, like, what do we know? Like
Right.
we
Exactly.
don't know what do we know? Like we
Yeah.
don't know what's like to walk around and people are just like, always like taking pictures of you or always, trying to like talk to you. And they feel like they know you and they don't know you. They know social media stuff, but so it's just, we don't know anything about that. So we have to, I think, cut her a little bit of slack. And, we're actually supposed to start practicing soon again. So that's good
Oh,
news for,
awesome.
the Naomi fans. So
Yeah, maybe some more
she'll be
videos if she
back.
doesn't mind.
Yeah. 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 She'll be back. She'll be back. Don't worry, guys.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, yeah. People just like love to criticize. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
This
crazy.
days, it's people just want to take sides and be, it's not your life. It's not your issue. Just like let her
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. I mean, they spend too much on time on that instead of bettering themselves. But
Yeah,
anyway, I
exactly.
guess I'll stop preaching there. But
Yeah.
so as far as her like practice demeanor, like is she really intense on the court? I know you said that she says sorry and stuff, but is she like super intense or like relaxed, or how's she with that?
I would say we're pretty relaxed. I think in terms of like playing, we're both like me and her, like we're similar in. She's a big like intuition player, not necessarily like as like game plan and that. She's a player. She understands her game plan of overpowering people. She she she's a feel and intuition person. It's almost like that the Caribbean side of her, like the Haitian side of her.
Yeah.
But she's very so the training usually is like a big warm up before we even play, almost like an hour warm up. Then she'll hit. The hits aren't that long. They're very sharp focused, but not necessarily that long. She goes into fitness immediately after, and I'll tell you guys, like, few people can like will hang with her in fitness. Like she can take pain, like she can you know fight through like soreness and tiredness. Like very few people have been around. Like it's actually
Damn.
very impressive. So her physical, like natural, like kind of physical gifts are incredible. Her fitness sessions are pretty tough. But just overall on the court, like anyone else. I mean, there are days that she's very on it, and there are days that we can tell that she's not there as much, and we'll make that a shorter practice. We'll adjust, and I think that's the coach's responsibility to find that balance. I think it's unrealistic if you think that every session, every pro player it's perfect and it's 100% intensity and they love being there. It's not. It's not, and it is not. Like there's half the
Yeah.
time, or a lot of the time, they just don't want to be there. They're not having a good day. They, and we just got to adjust to that. But she, in contrast of like her sort of like intuition, kind of what I say, like Haitian, sort of like more malleable, fun side. She's also, has her Japanese side where she'll
Mm.
do what she's told to do, and again, she'll do all the reps. She will not cut any corners, and it's very impressive. As she trains hard and trains, and she's ready to go. And she actually enjoys the competition and stuff. So everything that's happened recently, like that, she's not enjoying competition. It's actually it's she needed a time off because she actually really she almost gets bored sometimes with practice. Like she's kind of ready to go play.
Mm.
So she loves that side of it. So that's where we want to bring back that sort of passion for the competition.
Yeah, 100%, man. Just curious, like, do you guys like text sometimes or keep in contact? Like, I'm just curious about the relationship.
Every once in a while, nothing.
Yeah.
I always took the approach of give her the space.
Right.
We're all friendly and cordial and stuff, but we also
Professional.
technically work for her. So we
Right.
want to keep it. She has her thing. She has
Yeah.
obviously a lot going on, and with her boyfriend as well. I think they go to a lot of events and stuff like that. They're
Mm.
just living a different lifestyle that we live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, we text. Like I love cars, and like I remember she drives this like awesome Nissan GTR, but
Mm.
she recently was like she wanted to get like a classic Bronco, and like we
Ah.
went back and forth for a while finding like the right Bronco for her. She bought this amazing, like I think 1960 something Bronco
Oh,
or
wow.
1970
Damn.
something Bronco. It's beautiful, yeah. So we're definitely like I would say we're like good buddies, but again, we're just in such different worlds that it's almost like difficult to relate to each other at this point.
Yeah, yeah, no, feel that, man. Thanks for the insights with Naomi. So,
Mhm.
wanted to also get into some like match strategies slash tactics that you think would work well for like 3.5 to 5.0 players. I know that's still a little bit of a range there, but just some
Yeah.
simple ones that you think we can implement. And you do have a great video that people should check out on my Tennis HQ's YouTube channel. But yeah, just take it away with that.
I I think eh, we get a lot of this questions on tactics, I think, on the channel, and
Hmm.
I, for the most part, almost like avoided because I think tactics wise, I think what people usually are looking for is like, oh, like this winning pattern or this
Hmm.
like where when should I hit each ball? I'm like in tennis, I just find it to be so fluid, so personal. Like a shot that I see it very well that like if this ball comes, I'm maybe gonna go, for example, it's my backhand down the line. A lot of people just don't have that. So I
Yeah,
can like
right.
be teaching like, oh, when you see this ball, hit this ball because you might not have
The
it
tools.
anyway. So I I try to keep it in a one, I think you 3 5s to 4 5s, 5 5s. You guys one need to figure out who you are as a player. You know what I mean? Like figure out, am I hyper aggressive? Am I more of a counter puncher? Am I more of a heavy topspin guy? And you have to play to those strengths. I think that's
Hmm.
number one. Number two, it's keeping it kind of simple. I think a lot of people think that they have to do so much with the ball all the time, when
Mm.
most of the time is you just kind of have to manage it and get the ball back in play. Now
Right.
there's basic things like if you're on the run, if you're feeling a little out of position, maybe play the cross court, play a little more height, a little more margin. Those things are universally, they work at pros, they will work at lower level. So most of the stuff, it's just keeping things basic. I think playing with a bit more height is important. I think a lot of players try to like they want to play through the court and they either miss in the net or they play this kind of perfect ball into the strike zone. Play with a bit more height is always important, so the ball lands deeper. I talk a lot about depth on the channel. Like depth is what actually drives mistakes. Power doesn't really drive mistakes that much. People get used to power, but depth, like it's hard to get used to. But just in general, like keep things simple. Like find like what are the shots that you really enjoy hitting, that you see really well, and know also the ones that you don't like as much, and the ones that you don't like, just manage. Just keep it in a big target, hopefully deep on the court, and get yourself into like an opportunity to then hit the ball that you love. You know what I mean? Like and each person is gonna have a different one. It can be your forehand inside out. It can be your forehand down the line. It can be like we all have like one or two balls that like we truly enjoy hitting, and
Yeah.
you sort of have to just play the point for that. But most, I would say keep it simple in terms of like don't go down the line when you're out of position. Like if, or if you're too far back, if you're playing down the line, like maybe play with a little more height if you're too far back. But in general, playing more cross, playing more middle, actually, it's important, and not feel like you need to play perfect. I think that's one thing. It's like not every ball actually needs to land perfectly back there. Maybe sometimes a crappy ball that lands like on the tee, it's gonna do
Yeah.
like a lot more.
Out of
We
the
get
strike
those
zone.
questions as well. It's like,
Yeah.
out of the strike zone. If you can play out of the strike zone, it's better. So don't overthink like tactics, especially if you are a lower level player, you don't have all the tools, all the shots. Just like figure out the ones that you got, especially that day. If you're playing a match, it's like what's working today, what's not. Let's avoid what's not working. Like practice court, I'll figure that out later on. And just again, just go to war. You got to go to war out there. I think tactically, like impose your game. Don't let them impose their game. It's always and play it where they're not. I think Rafa like used to have said something one time. It's like they asked him about tactics, and he was like, "I just try to play where they're not." You know what I mean? It's like
Simple.
and I think that's sometimes I'm a big like I hope to simplify things for a lot of people, and I think you guys have to simplify yourself, because otherwise you can really go down a bad
Oh
like
yeah.
rabbit hole out there.
Yeah, there's just too much information
Yeah, it's
and
a lot. There's a
things.
lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I love that, man. Thanks. And so you I mean, I watched that video on your serve returns, like you were like crushing like Chris Eubanks' serve down the line and all that. So I was wondering if you can give our audience, obviously returns so important besides the serve, second most maybe, but what are some tips to help us get, more returns in the court and also hit more effective returns?
I mean, the video covers it fairly well, but first, technically, I think there's a few things that you got to do. Make sure, like quick shoulder turns, like
Yeah.
shorter back swings are always important. Good split steps, well timed split steps are very important, because you can get stuck very easily. And like I said in the videos, like you kind of have to be proactive about trying to return. I think a lot of people just kind of like hope the serve comes to them, and think about when you're a server, you're not trying to serve to the guy, right? Like you're actually trying to serve away from them. So you have to be looking at, you're not going to try to serve to me. And you can look at patterns. You can look at, if you know the person, you kind of know maybe they love the slice serve more than the T serve, or you returning is like, you're not necessarily supposed to win those games, right? So if you can in due time, you almost like use the return games to analyze the other player a little bit more, analyze the serve. Eventually, you kind of get a feel for what they're doing on the serve, what they're trying to do on the serve, and it will help a lot. So make sure, like, again, with the technical part, you continue to accelerate through it. Don't try to just block it. I actually tend to stand a little bit further away from the baseline nowadays. I used to be more of a block returner. Now I actually don't find them as effective, and it really depends on the player. But give you a little bit extra time to actually make a good swing at it and not just react. But my main thing, and I say in the video, it's like be proactive and don't stick to like a losing strategy. If you play 3-4 games on the returns, you're barely getting to 30, not even breaking, but you're barely getting to 30 on their games, you got to do something else. Back up, play a high happy ball, or really like that Eubanks match is actually the opposite. I started a little further back, and then it's just not working. So I just step right on top of the baseline. I'm like, ace me, and I have fast hands, so I can block it back. Not, I wouldn't necessarily say is the best strategy, but like I gave him a different look, and all of a sudden I was seeing double faults. I was seeing like things that weren't seen before. So you gotta like mess with the server, because otherwise, like, it's very easy to be a server when you kind of know the the returner isn't really trying to do anything different. And you just kind of find a winning strategy and you stick to it. And if they don't adjust, you're probably gonna win the match. So be like proactive about that.
Yeah, a lot of great advice there. Definitely, as well, it's worked for me to vary like my positions and try to figure out what works. And, sometimes like I'd
Mhm.
stand, closer to the tee on the deuce side to like dare them to hit to my forehand and give them less space on the
Yeah,
backhand
exactly.
and all those
Exactly.
things. So,
Yeah, you got to do those things. You got to kind of, dare them to hit a serve they don't like. Good serve, a good returner is going to make the guy serve where they want them to serve. So, and again, you only need it to happen maybe once a set, hopefully. So don't feel like you need to break all the time. You just have to like make them play, make those games harder, like make the games hard, and you should be okay.
yeah, definitely, man. Appreciate it. So, do you want to again, shout out the YouTube channel? What can we expect next coming down the pike from My Tennis HQ?
I have the third video of the return series that is going to be about second serves. Um,
Nice.
so that should be out probably on Monday or Tuesday. And then I actually filmed a practice with Marcos recently where I'm actually like mic'd up, so like kind of talking through it, and then Marcos is actually mic'd up. We switch back and forth.
Love that.
So that's going to be interesting, just sort of like, play the point out and kind of hear some thoughts and things like that. So I got that going on. So that should be out in the next week or 2 weeks or so. And then, yeah, like, more and more videos. Trying to make myself a little bit more available to create more content. We soon want to like launch some courses, some online courses that,
Sweet.
we will pick a topic. I have a couple in mind, like, changing directions. That would be like kind of like a little video series. So I want to launch that. We want to launch that like fairly soon. So we sort of like be through a paid wall, but it would be like all this content that, we're going to put a little bit extra production into it, and go through drills and things like that. So that would be really fun. We've been meaning to do this for a long time, but we're both incredibly busy, and
Sure.
it becomes a little bit tricky sometimes. But those are the main things. We got our newsletter. We're gonna start like soon. Like, if you sign up for the newsletter, getting like some maybe training PDFs and stuff like that. So we just got a lot on the pipeline, and we both just pressed for time these days. So that's been the tough part. But it should be. I think like 2022 is going to be a really good year for us. It's going to be fun, and I think hopefully we keep the growth, and keep putting out content that people are really learning from and using. As I don't say I would never say like that I can replace a coach with my YouTube channel and with my videos, but if I can add some value to the training, I think that's always been the goal.
Yeah, no, you're doing a great job, and yeah, consistency is key, and definitely looking forward to all the content that you're going to bring out in the future. A couple more just closing questions. Do you or what would be 3 books that you would gift to a friend to help them play better tennis?
Oh man. Tennis books are that's an interesting question. I think
And they could be
I
non-tennis books if you think they'd help as
yeah,
well.
I read recently. So there's I used to one I used to do this thing when I was like playing. I felt a little it's it's probably my favorite book um that I've read, but I used to listen to before matches if I was feeling like, I don't know, just not there, or if I was like complaining too much. I felt like I was being like a little soft about like being on the tour sometimes. I'd listen to The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Oh
I don't know if I
yeah,
yeah, but
that's
but that is a great. There's like a couple chapters
Mark
there
Manson.
that would put me, yeah, Mark Manson, that would put me in like in a good mindset to play, which is kind of funny. There's one chapter I'm pretty sure it's called like "You Are Not Special." I
Yeah,
was like,
right.
I'd listen to that one and just be like, you know what? Like, stop being soft. Just go out and play. Like, you don't have all this problem. They're fine. So that is, I enjoyed that book a lot. I think you can always translate into, kind of like, a tennis kind of philosophy as well. Another book that
Yeah.
I actually recently read, and I actually now I've gotten into a lot, is called Breath.
Hmm.
It's like the lost art of breathing, and how there's like stuff about Wim Hof breathing,
Oh
and
yeah.
how peak performance athletes, like, if you can control your breathing better. There's all the studies and thousands of years of, like, it's almost like a history of how to breathe. And it's fantastic. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know, I've heard this, I don't know if it's true, but I've heard like Nori actually is working with a breath specialist this
It's
past year.
working.
So
It's working.
you know what I mean? It's working. I mean, the guy can go for days and stuff. So
Indian Wells.
I don't, I'd have to ask him next time I see him, but I've heard
Yeah.
this before. So, I think reading like that kind of changed my, like, let's say changed my life completely, but like I was reading, I was like blown away. I was like, like, how do we not know this? Like, I was just like mind blown about like the fact that like we are actually breathing wrong, and not people aren't talking about this more often, which is bananas. So those are probably the two books that I would, for me, it made a huge difference. I don't think I read that many like tennis specific books. I actually had a less, like, one of my students' parents sent me this book by, what was the name of the book? I have to figure it out. I'll tell you later. But he's
Yeah,
like,
no
if you
problem.
switch, yeah, if you switch, like, it's about, like, I think, like, archery or something. But if you switch,
Oh,
the philosophy from archery to tennis, it translates well. But I have to look that up.
no, that's
And
cool.
yeah, I think those are probably my two main books. I don't really read too much about tennis. Obviously, there's, the Winning Ugly is obviously a classic, but
Yeah.
it's such a good book for that. I think people need to understand that sometimes that winning shouldn't be pretty, in a lot of ways. So that's just a classic. I think everyone should read.
Yeah, just like what you were talking about in the beginning of the interview. Yeah, it's funny. I was listening to Subtle Art of Not Giving an F a few months ago, like in Orlando on vacation,
Yeah,
like just while I was
yeah,
working out and yeah, before
yeah,
tennis. So good stuff.
yeah. The
Let's see.
audiobook is really good. And there's
Yeah.
another one. There's the Everything Is F. I don't know if you've
Oh
seen
yeah,
Everything
yeah.
Is F.
I,
There's a sequel with both of them are really good. I really enjoy
cool. Yeah, actually, thanks for reminding me. I haven't read the sequel, so that'll be a
it.
good
Yeah.
one to put on the list. Um, so another question that's could be fun is, what is a message that you would put on a billboard if you could like erect a billboard on like the most highly trafficked
Mm.
road in Cali or wherever you want? Like what is the message you would put on it?
Something, I don't know exactly how I'd phrase it, but it's something along the lines of, like, don't really force anything, just sort of let, like, life do its thing. I think in a lot of times, I in tennis and life in general, you want to, like, control so much of it, of what happens, and eventually certain opportunities, certain things just, end up, almost coming to you. Obviously, you keep working hard on your own craft or on your own whatever it is that you do. But if you're just like a good person and you do the right things, I think opportunities will come, and the right thing will come. Like I said, like, I look sometimes back at my, when I did these interviews, and I think about it. It's like, oh, I didn't force landing at UCLA. It just happened. I was meant to go there. I think you're just,
Hmm.
you have a path that you're sort of meant to be at, and through the ups and downs, I think you just kind of have to, not force it. Again, not force it, and just kind of let it happen, and control, obviously, the things that you can control. I don't know exactly how I'd put that in a billboard, but something along those lines. I read it recently, like, just don't force anything. For a relationship, or if it's a this or that it seems forced, it's probably not the right thing. So, just finding the right balance between, what you can control and what you just sort of have to, you know, let it be.
Yeah, no, I love that. I wonder if this may be like a huge overgeneralization, which I apologize for, but like I had two Brazilian teammates when I played college tennis. Shout out to John and Fernando, but I felt like they were like really chill too, and like they never force anything, always relax, like always fun to be around. So I don't know. Is that kind of like a cultural thing in Brazil? Is most people like that, would you say? Or
I
no?
think so. I think in
Okay.
Brazil we're a more relaxed country that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been in America for a long time, and I often find myself, you know, doing very American habits and thinking about things that are like
Yeah.
sometimes, you're thinking
Don't do
about
too
like
much of that.
a portfolio or like this and that. People are so worried about their stocks and this and that, and they're just like going.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's it's
Day
so crazy
trading.
about that sometimes. Exactly, and I'm just kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, like
Sick.
sometimes I need to pull myself away from it, and I do give the very like chill vibe. I understand that, but like it's not. I'm not. I'm actually like, I usually a little bit of, anxious and thinking about the future
Mm.
a lot, and this and that.
Yeah.
I'm constantly. I think the tennis court is the place that I'm more like present, and I'm
Mm.
able to just, this is my craft. But everything else in life, you just like, can get a little bit, anxious. I'm away from family and, dealing with like all these things, and you just end up, you can get really overwhelmed by it, and then eventually you just have to pull yourself back and be like, it's gonna be okay. You know what I mean? You can have a little bit more relaxed approach to it. So yeah, I would say like I wish I was actually more Brazilian that way, a little bit more relaxed. I feel like sometimes I'm not as relaxed as I would like to be, but yeah, I that's sort of like what I strive for. I don't think I succeed as much, but I at least strive for to have that sort of like, a little bit more relaxed, present mindset, actually being overly thinking about the future, which, again, on a tennis court is what you need to, like,
Exactly.
you don't want to think about the possibility of like 5-3 and you're going to choke. And then you start like going on this no ball. Like you just got to, it's 5-3, 15 love. I just got to think about the next point. That's so hopefully I can, if you can do this on the day-to-day life, maybe you can do that on the court as well.
Exactly. Stay present. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you've just been here too long, man. You got to remember your roots.
I know. I have to go to Brazil. Once the green card is out, and I can travel again, I think, I'm gonna spend a little bit of time in Brazil again. Just decompress. I love it here. Don't get me wrong. I literally can see the
Sure.
beach from my window right now.
Oh,
So
that's sick.
yeah. So I love it out here, but sometimes you just gotta pull back a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Check out the beaches over there. So,
Yeah.
cool, man. Well, oh yeah. Also, are there any social accounts or anything that people should check out for you?
At MyTennisHQ on Instagram, and I think on TikTok as well. Not that we're using as much TikTok, but it's there. I for a little bit I was doing some TikTok stuff, but it's just too much. There's too many things. I like
Yeah.
the long format. I'm not a big guy. I actually like to be able to explain everything more details. So yeah, MyTennisHQ on the channel. That's the one that, if you want to subscribe, and that's the one where we truly, appreciate that one. But yeah, MyTennisHQ on social media, and obviously the website, mytennishq.com.
Definitely. And we're going to have all the links that we mentioned on the show today, mytennishq.com, and the YouTube channel, newsletter link. Maybe I'll contact you for that one, or I'll find it, Karue,
Perfect.
and, the socials and all that. So, yeah, just check out the show notes page, and you'll be able to click all those. So, Karue, I just want to let you have the floor for anything else you want to tell the viewers before we sign off today.
Oh man.
Anything you want.
That's a good one. One, don't switch from tennis to pickleball.
Oh man, that's
Yeah. Okay, so
dude.
that's the floor that I'm gonna use the platform to vouch for tennis and not pickleball. To
Dude,
people playing pickleball.
That's awesome.
And then yeah, I mean, like anything, I think if you're playing tennis, if you remember that, like for most of you listening, I don't think playing tennis is your job.
Yeah.
It's just a fun activity that you have, and I think it's good that it's competitive, and it's, a lot of people I think really enjoy tennis because of the competition, that one-on-one that you really don't get in most sports. But just remember, it's like it's a hobby that you got, and it's fun. It's supposed to be fun. If you're just losing your mind over you think you're losing because of your racket, your strings, and you're going bananas about things that like it's not. It's just you being on the court and having a good time. And I think that you probably know whenever you played really well, you're having a lot of fun. So try to have fun playing tennis. I think that's something that I often, I hope tennis can be fun for a lot of people. I think tennis just in general is a difficult sport to start because it takes so long for you to be able to like maintain a rally or something, right? But that's why I think a lot of people play pickleball. So, in tennis is one of those things that, it's going to take some time, but you'll be rewarded at the end. So have some fun with it. It's going to be a long journey, but it's going to be a good time. So that would be my thing.
Yeah, I love that. Great advice. Though it's actually so funny, laughing hard about the pickleball thing. Yeah, I mean, first off, it's definitely rough, as a tennis player to like, I've seen like a lot of the courts get like taken over from, by pickleball, and that's tough to see. I mean, totally, pickleball, like, yeah, it's great activity. Like as far as you get out there, you get exercise and everything, but tennis obviously is a great sport, and you could try to play both, I guess. But yeah, one of my buddies actually, like I'd only played pickleball once at like some conference just to try it out, and one of my good friends like needed a partner for a tournament, so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll play. So it's next week, and I practiced it with him once, and as a tennis player, I don't want to sound like elitist or anything, but I felt like like this is not that hard.
No,
but I'm sure
it's a good exercise. I actually won a pickleball tournament recently. It was like
cool,
just like club event.
Yeah.
But there were some good like pickleball players in it, and I was like, it's fun, and you have to figure it out. I think it's not bad at all, but it is like, it's a little. There's not a lot of consequences into just smacking that ball because it doesn't really go anywhere. So you don't have to have this perfect. Obviously, again, it makes it fun. It makes it a good exercise, and you don't have to like spend years and years learning how to play tennis. So I understand the appeal.
Right.
But let's start let's build like pickleball courts that don't take tennis courts away.
Separate.
That's my thing. Let's do a separate thing. And more padel. We should have more padel here in America. Padel is fun.
Yeah. That's pretty neat.
One with the glass box and stuff. That's a fun. That is a fun racket sport. If you want to play a fun racket sport, that's the one. So, and I play beach tennis here too, which is kind of fun too. But padel is the coolest one.
Very cool. Yeah, very cool. Strong opinions, Karue. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I shoot straight. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way to do it, man. So awesome, Karue. Well, we've been talking for a while, and I really do appreciate your time. I know you're very busy. You got some big projects coming out, so just let me know if I could help with any of that. But it was really fun, man. So thank you for your time, and hopefully speak with you again soon. And have a great day.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, man. All right. I really hope that you enjoyed my interview with Karue Sell, this part 2 of it. And thanks again to Karue for speaking with me for nearly 2 hours. Figured it would be good to break it up for you all, and let me know what you think about these 2-parters if you have any feedback on that. And speaking of which, I would really love your feedback as a whole on the Tennis Files podcast. And so if you could leave a review for the show on Apple Podcasts at tennisfiles.com/Apple Podcasts, or on your podcast app of choice that you use to listen to the show, it would be very highly appreciated so that we can get over 100 ratings. I believe we're at 99 right now, so it'd be pretty awesome. Hopefully we've surpassed by that time, but at this point of time of the recording, we're at 99. So get us over that hump, please. Thank you. And I also do want to leave you with a quote, as I often love to do at the end of the show. And this one is short and sweet by David Goggins. And David said, "Mental toughness is a lifestyle." Definitely love that. Got to really ingrain it in your mind and endear yourself to mental toughness. Otherwise, especially if you don't have it, it's probably not going to happen without a lot of hard work and dedication to the craft. Alrighty then. Well, thanks a lot for listening to this episode of the podcast, and looking forward to continuing to serve you with great content. And with that, I will see you on the next episode of the Tennis Files podcast. This is Mehrbon Aranshad signing out.